음.
네.
Hare Krishna, brother. Hello, brother.
Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. I was actually doing Gayatri. Okay. Om Agyantimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Chaitanya Ishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Dati Swapadanti Vandeham Shri
Shri Guru Shri
Vishnu Bhagavatam
Ajatam Sakavina Raghunatanitam Tam Sajiva Sadhuvaitam Savadutam
Savadutam
Harijan Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Shri Vishwakarmita
Hare Krishna
He
Karuna
Krishna Karuna Sindhu Adhikari Jagatpati Rupesha Gopika Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanasute Devi Pranamami Hare Priya Vanchakalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkrupatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwar.
We are beginning with Adi Leela 13. We have 4 chapters remaining to finish Adi Leela. This chapter is called the Advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just before this, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami described um, the the desire tree, the Chaitanya tree. The trunk is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Many branches. Two main branches is Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu. Then there is Gadadhar Pandit, and there are many sub branches. ISKCON is one of such branch um, of Chaitanya tree, and lot of names are described, like the followers of Mahaprabhu, the 6 Goswamis. We saw something few verses about the sadhana of Raghunath Das Goswami also. Followers of Advaita Acharya, followers of Gadadhar Pandit, and we also saw how Shri Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami received the order by um, Haridas Pandit and Bhugarva Goswami and many other servants of Radha Govinda um, in Vrindavan. And then he went to Madan Mohan temple and he was blessed with a garland from Radha Madan Mohan Dev, which fell on its own, and Pujari chose Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami to wear this garland. And then we also saw Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami's humility when he compares his writing to Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vrindavan Das Thakur. Finally, we came to the end of the introduction of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now, this particular chapter is divided into multiple sections. First, there is obeisances, as always, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami taking permission of Nityananda Prabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Advaita Acharya, and others. Then he describes about Mahaprabhu's Leela, a synopsis of the entire Mahaprabhu Leela. Then he describes the summary of Adi Leela. Then he describes the summary of uh, Madhya Leela, Antya Leela. And then he describes before the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord sent his devotees. And then he describes the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Of course, it's not a very big chapter, relatively, yeah, not a big chapter. We may be able to finish today. In very short, he describes just like the entire summary before he actually goes into the second part of this presentation is Advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jaya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gaura Chandra Jaya Advaita Jaya Advaita Jaya Jaya Nityananda. All glories to Shri Krishna Chaitanya, who is known as Gaura Hari. All glories to Advaita Acharya and all glories to Nityananda Prabhu. When somebody take permission uh, and offer one's obeisances to the Panchatattva, then all of one's activities become successful. He described this before. Eita kahila grantha arambe mukha bandha ebe kahi chaitanya lila krama anubandha granthe arambha. Now I'm going to begin the beginning of this granth. So far it was an introduction. Thus far I have spoken the preface of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now I shall describe Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes in chronological order. Um, like Srimad Bhagavatam is not really in chronological order, but Chaitanya Charitamrita is more or less in chronological order. Starting from chronological order means time based, starting from his appearance all the way till the end pastimes. So first he describes the synopsis. Chabishavat Sara Prabhu Kaila Grihavas. So he stayed in Griha, Grahasthashram. For how long? Chobis. Chobis is 24 years. Nirantara Kaila Krishna Kirtana Vilas. And as he was staying in for 24 years in Grahasthashram, he was constantly engaged in spreading the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. His main spreading began after he got initiated, but still from day one he would cry till the ladies chant the holy names. Or even we saw whole night kirtan in Shiva's Thakur's home, and he would uh, everywhere he would still spread the holy name right from the childhood. Uh, जब 24 Vatsara Seshe Kariya Sannyas. After 24 years, he took sannyas. Ara 24 Vatsara Kaila Nilachale Vas. And rest of the 24 years, Ara 24 Vatsara. Years. Vatsara is years. Kaila Nilachale Vas. He stayed in Puri. Naturally, he traveled, but he stayed in Puri. Just like devotees may travel in Radha Gopijana Vallabh temple and then they may travel and come back. But it is seen that, okay, past 5 years this devotee is staying in Radha Gopijana Vallabh temple. So uh, his base basically was Puri. He would go for 2 years, come back. He go to Vrindavan, come back. He'll go to Ramkeli in Bengal and come back. But he mainly stayed last. Okay, okay, it will come anyhow. Tara Madhye Chaya Vatsar Gamana Gamana Kabhu Dakshin Kabhu Gauda Kabhu Vrindavana Taba Madhya. So in his Madhya Leela, Chaya was 6 years. Gamana Agama, he would go and come back. Kabhu Dakshin, sometime he would go to South India. Kabhu Gowda, Gowda is Bengal or Bangladesh. Sometime he would go to Bengal in Bangladesh. Kabhu Vrindavana, and sometime he would go to Vrindavan. So this is just a synopsis. He described about Adi Leela, now Madhya Leela. Gamana Agama, he would come and go. Asta, Asta, Astadasha is 18. Asta is 8 and Dasha is 10. So Astadasha is 18. Astadasha Vatsa Rahila Nila Chale. Last 18 years he would not do Gamana Agama, means going and coming back. Rahila, he would stay at Nilachal in Puri. Krishna Prema Namamrita Bhasaila Sakale, and he would inundate Puri with uh, the prema of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, with love of God, love of Krishna. Adi Leela Madhe Prabhura Yatika Charita Sutra Rupe Murari Gupta Karila Grathita. So Adi Leela. Uh, Sutra Rup is in concise. Adi Leela in concise. Uh, the Granth is written by Murari Gupta. Murari Gupta, he will come. He was one very close associate of Lord Chaitanya throughout, like a very close friend throughout the till Mahaprabhu took sannyas. Um, so Murari Gupta took all the notes of Chaitanya Leela, and Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami has taken those sutra from Murari Gupta, and sutra from sutra means concise form, and sutra from Swarup Damodar for Madhya and Antya Leela, and that's how he has come with this Chaitanya Charitamrita composition. प्रभुराये शेषा लीला स्वरूप दामोदर सूत्रे करी ग्रंथ लीला ग्रंथेरा भीतर. Again Madhya and Antya Leela from Mahaprabhu's secretary Sarup Damodar. He would keep a book and he would write. So he had both the books and he composed. So that was a synopsis. So synopsis, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami describes about Adi Leela, Madhya Leela. He would go to Gauda, South India, Nilachala, Ante Leela. He stayed there and inundated devotees with love of Krishna Prema. And he has taken from Murari Gupta and Sarup Damodar and composed Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now, little more detail of Adi Leela and then little more detail of Madhya and Antya Leela and then advent of devotees of Lord Chaitanya and then advent of Lord Chaitanya. So first summary of Adi Leela. Janma Balya Pauganda Kaishora Yuva Kale Hari Nama Lao Aila Prabhu Nana Chale. Janma, birth, Balya. So there are 4 ages. One is called Balya, Pauganda, Kaishor and Yuva. Balya is boyhood, uh, childhood. Uh, Pauganda is boyhood. Kaishor is later phase of boyhood, and Yuva is youth. Uh, so throughout these ages, childhood, young boyhood, older boyhood, and youth. Krishna also had these ages and different pastimes in different ages. And Krishna, when he left Vrindavan, he was a youth. But there are different pastimes. In childhood, Krishna would steal butter. In boyhood, mainly cowherd and herding the cows and playing with the gopas. And here and there, he would meet with gopis. Not really meet, but like friends, boyhood. And youth is like he has very detailed pastimes with the gopis also. So Krishna's activities changed over his age, and likewise Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu activities also. And throughout, under different pleas, induce people to chant the holy name of Hari. In all ages, he would make people chant, right from day one of his appearance, and we'll see that today. So that was now Balya Leela, specifically Balya Leela activities means childhood. Balya Bhava Chale Prabhu Karena Krandana. This we are aware. Krandana is crying. So he would just cry. Krishna Hari Nama Suni Rahe Rodana. Unless he hears Krishna Hari Nam, he would keep crying. But as soon as he hears Rahe is stopped. As soon as he hears Krishna Hari Nam, he would stop crying. All the friendly ladies came to see the child who would chant the holy name Hari Hari. Whoever would come, like they would surround Nimai. He is like golden in color. Whenever they would come, they would chant Hari Hari, and they would feel transcendental ecstasies. Um, as soon as the child would cry, they would chant Hari Hari. The ladies enjoyed it and called the Lord Gaura Hari. Gaura because he's golden, and Hari because he makes them always chant the name of Hari 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 Hari. So they would come and they would say, "Oh my Gaura Hari, Hari Hari, Gaura Hari." So like that, he got the name Gaura Hari. The elderly gopis gave him the name. But also he's called Gaura Hari because he's Krishna. That they didn't know. But in this pastime, he received the name because he's Krishna, um, Hari, and he's Golden Krishna. That's why he's called Gaura Hari. Which became another name, another of his names. Mahaprabhu has many, many names, and over a period of time, you will see he received all these names by which he is famous today. His childhood lasted until the date of Hate Khadi, holding chalk, the beginning of his education. Till that time, it's Bala. इधर उधर खेलेंगे, मस्ती करेंगे थोड़ा, and he would make everyone chant the name of Hari. And then this is just a summary of Bal Leela. What all happened next chapter is pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But this is just a summary, and the theme of this chapter is appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then Yauvan, youth age. After his marriage, his youth begins. Um, uh, More about marriage, probably next couple of discussions. His youth begins, and in his youth, he induced everyone to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra anywhere and everywhere. That thing continues. Pauganda Leela. So we saw Bale Leela, youth after marriage, and Pauganda um, um, when he started his education. That is Pauganda Leela. His age from Hate Khadi until he married is called Pauganda. Um, Pauganda, okay. Um, Pauganda and Kishore are both under Pauganda in one way or the other. Um, um, During this age, he became a serious student and he also taught disciples. This is during this age he learned grammar and he became a grammar teacher. Um, Still, he would teach Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He would talk about Krishna. Um, mm, as a student, he would ask whomever he met to chant Hare Krishna. Thus, he inundated the whole Navadvip with chanting of Mahamantra. While teaching uh, Vyakarana grammar to his disciple, he described the glories of Krishna. All explanations culminated in Krishna. When he was a student, he would tell his friends to chant Hare Krishna and inundate the whole Navadvip. As a student, he would run, he would go to Ganges, he would have many, many playful pastimes, subject matter of next chapter. And when he became little more older, he became a teacher. Even before his marriage, he had his own school, something next to next chapter. If one simply becomes a teacher, something by Prabhupada purpose. If one simply becomes a teacher or professor of education, but does not understand Krishna, it is to be understood that he is among the lowest of mankind, as stated in Bhagavad Gita. Naradhama Maya Paharita Jnana. So Prabhupada gives another meaning to Naradhama Maya Paharita Jnana. We know in one way, but these verses of Bhagavad Gita can be applied in many different directions. Uh, that understanding comes from our Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas. So if anybody becomes a teacher and he does not speak about Krishna, then Prabhupada says, then Krishna calls them Maya, Paharita, and Naradhana. If one does not know the essence of all revealed scriptures but still become a teacher, his teaching is like is disturbing braying of an ass. You know, the ass makes this braying sound, and he becomes very proud of it, and he thinks, I'm making such nice sound, and I am attracting some female asses, kachari, or whatever they call. Also, likewise, a teacher who is teaching so many things, but if he's not talking about Krishna, then it's like braying of an ass. There are now, when we say Navadvip, those who have not been to Navadvip, it's called Dvipis Island. Navadvip means it's 9 islands. So there is uh, Jhalangi and there is Bhagirathi or Ganga. So there are two rivers, and um, they move in such way that they divide the land, which is 32 square miles in area, into 9 islands. And they are like Antardweep. Antardweep is the central portion, uh, as you see in a map, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. And then and this Navadvip is in the form of a lotus, and Antardvip is the central whole of the lotus. Then there is Ritudvip, Jhanudvip, Rudradvip, Simantadvip, Koladvip, and there are different pastime places in these three. There are 9 forms of devotional service: Shavanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padase- Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam, spoken by Prahlad Maharaj, 7th Canto, Bhagavatam. They correspond to these 9 islands. And Prabhupada describes Antardvip to Shravanam, Simantadvip to Kirtanam, Godromadvip to Smaranam, and likewise he describes them in the order of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. And Prabhupada says there, in all these different islands, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a young man used to lead his Sankirtan party. He thus inundated the entire area with the waves of love of Krishna. Just like Krishna, he would perform very sweet nectarian pastimes with the Gopas and the Gopis in different places of Vraja. There were 12 forests of Vrindavan, and he would travel every day to different forests. Sometime Mahavan, sometime Kamyavan, sometime Govardhan, sometime in Nandagram itself. So he would go to different places and perform enchanting pastimes. Likewise, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go to these different 9 islands. They're like his home. This Navadvip exists eternally in spiritual world. And he would inundate and perform enchanting pastimes. There are pastimes that he inundated in all of these Navadvips. In that way, Navadvip is non-different from Vrindavan. Vrinda Vraja, Vrajmandal is 12 forests. One of the forests is Vrindavan. But there are 12 forests. It's called Vrajmandal. Likewise, Navadvip is 9. But they are one and the same. कैशोरवयैषे आरंभिला संकीर्तना रात्रादीने प्रेमे नित्या संगे भक्ता गणा Ratra in Kai in Kaishore, he publicly started Sankirtan. Till now, he was inundating the holy name. He was asking everyone to chant Hari Hari, but specifically Sankirtan with instruments officially. Um, in Kaishore age, he started, and day and night, like we know in Shiva's Thakur home, whole night. So day and night he would chant the holy names. Sesha Leela. Sesha Leela includes Madhya and Antya Leela. Shesha Leela means pastimes after he took sannyas. So he stayed in Grahasthashram for some time. Uh, then he took sannyas. And later on, there is Madhya and Antya Leela. A Madhya Leela na Leela Mukhya Dham Shesha Ashtadasha Varsha Antya Leela Nam. The activities of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his travel after he accepted sannyas are his principal pastimes. Beginning pastimes are very important, um, but the principal pastimes are after sannyas because his real mission was fulfilled in main internal reasons. What he wanted to taste was fulfilled after he took sannyas. So those are called the principal pastimes, and his main outreach activities also happened after he took sannyas. So that's why they are called his principal pastimes. Principal pastimes began with Madhya Leela. His activities during his remaining 18 years are called the Antya Leela or the final portion of his pastimes. For 6 of the 18 years, he continuously stayed in Jagannath Puri. He regularly performed kirtan, inducing all the devotees to love Krishna simply by chanting and dancing. After sannyas, 6 years he traveled, then 18 years he stayed in Puri. Among those 18 years, when he continuously stayed in Puri, first 6 years Shravanam Kirtanam, um, regularly performed kirtan and induced devotees to chant, glorify, and hear Harikatha. But the last 12 years he stayed in Jagannath Puri, both the time. All 18 he stayed in Puri. First 6 Shravanam Kirtanam main focus. Remaining 12, last 12 years, he stayed in Puri. He taught everyone how to taste the transcendental mellow ecstasy of love of Krishna by tasting it himself. He tasted deep Krishna prema. This is like Gambhir pastimes of Antya Leela. Um, um, he was no longer holding public Shravan Kirtan, um, but he would do that, but his main focus was he himself fulfilled his desires for what he came for. Um, his own beauty, Radharani's love for Krishna, and the happiness she experiences by serving Krishna. We discussed in first chapter. Um, and he taught um, um, because he he came to set an example. He came to teach us how to progress in devotion. So initially he would spread, he would travel, he would preach, and then he settled in one place, and then it was more of Nirjan Bhajan. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he wrote many books, but last 2 years he locked himself up, went to Puri, and did Nirjan Bhajan. Um, um, and he taught how to taste that transcendental mellow ecstasy of love of Krishna, how to go deeper in rasa. These are Antya pastimes are very deep. How to enter there. Prabhupada says a person who is advanced in Krishna consciousness always feels separation from Krishna. Separation from Krishna is not possible until one has attachment to Krishna. Just like if we love somebody, um, parents, family members, children, spouse, and if they go away, then based on how much love is there will be some kind of separation. So separation cannot be artificially mimicked. Right now, we have no separation for Krishna because there is no attachment to Krishna. There is no love for Krishna. Separation is an advanced stage. So Prabhupada did mention um, feeling separation for Krishna is the best way to advance. I heard when I began my Krishna consciousness, one should feel separation from Krishna. And I was thinking, yeah, ये separation आ क्यों नहीं रहा है? Why I'm not feeling any separation? This is the best way to advance. Then I realized I am not qualified. I don't have adhikar to feel separation from Krishna. So in the beginning, it's sadhana bhakti, where we have to push on the mission and do different kind of services, um, show our sincerity to Krishna. So a person who is advanced in Krishna consciousness always feels separation from Krishna. Uh, but such a feeling of separation excels the feeling of meeting Krishna. There is Sambhog and Vipralambha. There is deeper ecstasy in Vipralambha. Vipralambha is when we are away from our beloved. Sambhog is when we are together with the beloved. Both rasa exist at all time in Golok Vrindavan. Mm. For Gopas, afternoon is Sambhog, night is Vipralambha. For Gopis, night is Sambhog, afternoon is Vipralambha. I mean, so both feeling exist. Um, Vipralambha increases pleasure for Sambhog, pleasure during Sambhog. When um, uh, lover and beloved love each other and they are separated, then it is way more tastier when they meet again. That's the principle of rasa. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his last 12 years of existence within this world at Jagannath Puri, taught the people of the world how, with a feeling of separation, one can develop his dormant love for Krishna. Mahaprabhu mainly taught Vipralambha Bhav because through that Vipralambha, deep attachment and deep separation, there is a possibility of meeting Krishna at the end of this life. But the life, this life, current life, has to end in Vipralambha only. And one lecture I heard, at it's a gradual process. Little love develops. I mean, love is a too big word for me. Some little attraction, little more, and as we go deeper, uh, love increases. With as love increases, uh, attachment increases, vipralambha or separation increases. And by cultivating deeper and deeper attachment through Shravanam and Kirtanam, this love keeps on increasing and separation keeps on increasing. And it reaches to the point where uh, separation, one starts burning in separation. Um, Unable to sleep, unable to eat, the heart full of anxiety because of separation. Um, Attachment is indescribable. Out of that separation, a person ends his life. I mean, naturally, the soul leaves the body out of separation. Um, just like we hear, as soon as Nityananda Prabhu left with the sannyasi, uh, Hidayat Pandit um, could not live anymore and he um, gave up his life. We saw the similar example when Lord Ram left Maharaj Dashrath out of Vipralambha separation. He left his body. So those, I mean, we hear that, but to reach that stage, because they are eternally associates of the Lord, they exhibit without any sadhana bhakti. Um, but for us, this Shravanam Kirtanam itself will lead to that deep attachment, and continued Shravanam Kirtanam will keep on increasing. And when we reach a stage, if we reach a stage, we really have to work on it and desire. Uh, that is what the soul is looking for. If we reach that stage, then when we end our life, we participate in Krishna Leela, in the rasa that we are cultivating on an earthly plane, in a universe where Krishna is currently performing pastimes. And then anything that is troublesome in the heart, the last spots that remains, um, will also be eliminated, and we will be trained, and then we can go to Goloka Vrindavan. That's the goal of life. So that's what Mahaprabhu taught us in his last 18 years is Vipralambha, separation. And this Antya Leela is my favorite section, and you all will also love it if at all we reach there and if we study that. It's very deep. Um, such feeling of separation or meeting with Krishna are different stages of love of God. Srila Prabhupada, something from the purport. These feelings develop in time when a person seriously engages in devotional service. समय लगता है. Saraswati Thakur says if someone is engaging in sense gratification, that day will come infinitely after long time. But if one is seriously engaged uh, over a period of time, these different stages of love of Godhead will appear. The highest stage is called Prema Bhakti. Um, we really have no idea. I'm talking about myself. What is Prema Bhakti? But this stage is attainable by executing sadhana bhakti. Prabhupada also says here one should not just jump to Raganuga bhakti immaturely, but one should naturally dadami buddhi yogam tham. Krishna gives us the intelligence. One should not try to elevate himself artificially to the stage of prema bhakti without seriously following the regulatory principles of sadhana bhakti. Prema bhakti is a stage of relishing, whereas sadhana bhakti is a stage of improving in devotional service. We are, we are growing uh, day by day, every day with our 16 rounds, with our seva, with our sadhana, with our dainya, humility, service attitude. We are growing. It's a stage of improving. Prema Bhakti is a stage of perfection. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught this cult. Cult means culture. This culture of now Western word has a negative meaning of cult. Cult means an unwanted thing, but cult original word cult means culture. This he came to taught this culture of devotional service in full detail by practical application in his own life. Um, it is said therefore, "Apani achari bhakti sikhai no sabare." He himself taught like in Srila Prabhupada language, work now, samadhi later. That's what Mahaprabhu taught. That's what Srila Prabhupada told. Devotees wanted to retire to Vraja and and artificially try to go deeper. Prabhupada said not accepted. You cannot by your endeavor access Krishna. Krishna has to come to you. How? Sadhana bhakti. The Prabhupada said work now, samadhi later. And this last 12 years of Antya Leela is a samadhi stage kind of. Mahaprabhu day one, he's in samadhi. I mean, we heard Prakashananda Saraswati pastime. What mantra have you given me? My hairs are set and tears are flowing from my eyes. What's going on here? So Mahaprabhu is that stage from day one. But Acharya, Sikhainu, Bhakti Sikhainu, he has come to teach us. Unmad Cheshta Pralapa Vachana. Day and night, Lord Chaitanya felt separation from Krishna, would not sleep. He would in a small room in Gambhira. Uh, Sarup Damodar, they were so uh, concerned about Lord Chaitanya, uh, vigilant. They would lock him in the room, and he was missing. Sometime he would found in the middle of the ocean, drowned completely, different places, in different ecstasies, in different with different bodily disfigures. He was found. So that day and night, um, this feeling of separation, where is Krishna? Vipralambha. Uh, um, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also exhibited in Adi Leela Vipralambha. We will we will see after he got initiated. Um, but Mahaprabhu wanted to teach, so he controlled that emotion and he engaged in preaching South India, and finally he exhibited it in full force. Like a madman, he cried. Um, Today I was hearing a lecture. In this material world, also, love makes people mad. The nature of love is it makes people mad. Um, Sometimes, if the love is material love, but the principle is there. Um, if it is unfulfilled, sometimes people commit suicide. If it's all lust actually, but just speaking nice words, that's all. If parents don't agree, they run away. So they do all kind of wrong things. They don't care about parents, about their life, about public. They are just mad. So that's the nature of pure love. It's a reflected, perverted reflection, lust. But this love makes people mad, love of Krishna. So Mahaprabhu became like a madman. He would cry. That's why Nityananda Prabhu is called Avaduta Shiromani. Avadut. Avadut means like a madman. Um, and in ecstasy of love of Godhead. Um, a, 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 material mind cannot understand those emotions. Uh, uh, Chaitanya Bhagavat describes in great detail about Nityananda Prabhu. So like a madman, he cried and talked inconsistently. So Mahaprabhu will speak and nobody will understand what Mahaprabhu is speaking. Uh, in the mood of Srimati Radharani, just as she did when she met Uddhav. When Uddhav came, intense separation, um, and whatever she spoke, nobody understood. Likewise, whatever Mahaprabhu would speak, talk inconsistently. People cannot understand what he's speaking. Um, Rupa Goswami understood. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale. Manobhistam, he understood, but people could not understand. Nature of love. Pralap Vachana. Is Prajalpa is called Pralap in a stage of perfection. Uh, in this connection, one should refer to something from Srila Prabhupada Purport. In this connection, one should refer to Srimati Radharani Soliloquy after meeting Uddhav in Vrindavan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu presented a similar picture of such ecstatic imaginary talking, full of jealousy. This jealousy, this envy uh, exists in spiritual world also, in a very pure form. Like Radharani was thinking, Krishna left us and he is with so many queens. They are much more refined than us. We are simple cowherd girls. Then why will he return to us? What is the need? They are giving him much more pleasure than we can. So this is transcendental uh, um, 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 envy, jealousy. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes and gives an understanding of Radharani's jealousy, and he says Radharani knows um, that Krishna can be happy only with him. Even if he is with anyone else, he is constantly thinking about him. So her jealousy is for the pleasure of Krishna because she knows Krishna can be happy only with me. Um, so the purpose of jealousy still remains pleasure of Krishna. Um, um, full of jealousy and madness, symptomizing neglect by Krishna. Srimati Radharani criticizing a bumblebee. She saw a bumblebee and she chastised bumblebee, and she said, "You ungrateful servant of an ungrateful master. Uh, um, why ungrateful? Because your master is flower. You go to a flower and you drink the honey from the flower, and then you have no gratitude. And then after drinking the honey from the flower, you go to another flower and you drink the honey from that flower, and no gratitude. And then you go to another flower and you drink honey from another flower and no gratitude. So ungrateful servant. Likewise, in Vrindavan, we left our family, home, our everything, and we gave ourselves fully to you, and you left us. and now like a bumblebee, because bumblebee is black in color, so the black color reminded her of Krishna. So now you enjoyed us, um, and you are so ungrateful you left. And she heavy, these are like inconsistent words. There are many Geet in Srimad Bhagavatam. One is called Venu Geet, and the song of Krishna's flute. One is called Brahmar Geet. Brahmar Geet is Radharani chastising Bumblebee. And one is Gopi Geet. So likewise, this 10th canto is very nectarian and contains all these songs. So just like Srimati Radharani criticized the bumblebee and chastised the bumblebee, uh, it is described by our acharyas. Krishna came in the form of bumblebee because he was feeling that separation. But he did want to come back because he knew if he comes back one, he will never be able to go back again. Because the love of the gopis and the gopas and Mother Yashoda will bind him, and he cannot go back again. So she talked just like a mad woman. Uddhav is thinking, see, this is the internal mood. Sukadev Goswami is explaining. But Uddhav is thinking, why is she criticizing a bumblebee? And when he understood her love for Krishna, then he's like, I want to become a Gurmalata. I want to take the dust of them on my feet, because he was thinking I am the best devotee. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the last days of his pastimes exhibited all the symptoms of such ecstasy. Very deep. This Antya Leela is very deep. Um, it's only Rasa Tattva, Antya Leela. When I first read Antya Leela, my eyes were like, what is this? So that's why I request always devotees, keep on reading, keep on reading, keep on reading. Uh, um, Especially if you come to Chaitanya Charitamrita, I was talking to Jagat Guru Prabhu, and he was mentioning when I was reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, I stopped eating, I stopped sleeping, and nothing was coming in my mind. I would go to work and I would start reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. So of course, Chaitanya Charitamrita also reveals to one, I mean, his experience and our experience will be completely different, because of the rasa he's tasting and the rasa we have the adhikar to taste. So he tasted ecstasy and filled his desires. And what he did, he used to read the books of Vidyapati, Joydev, and Chandidas, relishing their songs with his confidential associates like Sri Nabananda Roy and Swarup Damodar. In separation from Krishna, he relished all these ecstatic activities, and thus he filled his own desires. So Mahaprabhu would relish the books. These are very intimate books by Jaydev Goswami, Vidyapati, and Chandidas. And he would read in association of only his close associates, Ramananda Roy and Sarup Damodar. Um, Ramananda Roy is Vishakha Sakhi and Sarup Damodar is Lalita Sakhi. And Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Radharani. And that's how he is tasting. And thus he fulfilled his own desires. The purpose of tasting Radharani's love for Krishna. Um, we saw Radharani experiences the joy millions of times more in Krishna's pleasure than Krishna's enjoys in her pleasure. So he was racing for that pleasure, and now he's trying to deepen his love for Krishna, and he's going crazy. Something from Srila Prabhupada. Vidyapati was a famous composer of the song about the pastimes of Radha Krishna. He appeared almost 100 years before Lord Chaitanya. One great Vaishnava, and Mahaprabhu would read um, 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 Jaidev Goswami was born in 11th or 12th century. So Mahaprabhu was born in 15th century, so around 300-400 years. And Chandidas even little further. They all were expert in Rasa Tattva. And one of the famous book of Jaidev Goswami is Geet Govinda. Those who have not heard, you may have heard the pastime where Jaidev Goswami, I think we discuss in this particular uh, sangha. um, Krishna bowed down and touched his head to the feet of Radharani. And Jaydev Goswami thought, oh, I cannot write this. How is it possible? This is not possible. And he went and Krishna came and filled it. That's Geet Govinda. Very book, many sections. Um, Prabhupada says one of his famous book by Jaydev Goswami is Gita Govinda, which is full of transcendental mellow feeling of separation from Krishna. The gopi separation from Krishna before the rasa dance. Um, and Gita Govinda expresses such feelings. These are all expansions of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the central book and they all expand these rasas. And Mahaprabhu, in association of those devotees, would sit down and hear and discuss. And he would chant like that. And he would taste the rasa and he fulfilled his own desires like some instruction given by Srila Prabhupada quoting Saraswati Thakur. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments in this connection that such feelings of separation as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enjoyed from the books of Vidyapati, Chandidas, and Joydev are specially reserved for persons like Sri Ramananda Roy and Sarup Damodar, who were Paramhamsas, men of topmost perfection because of their advanced spiritual consciousness. The mundane sexual activities of young boys and girls are most abominable. Therefore, those who are in bodily consciousness and who desire sense gratification are forbidden to indulge in discussion of the transcendental pastimes of Radha and Krishna. One should not read and one should not um, yeah. Saraswati Thakur says, unless one is free from sex desire, one should not be so eager to hear about Radha and Krishna because then the tendency will be we may consider Radha Krishna pastimes on a mundane platform, and that won't be good for our advancing consciousness. But Mahaprabhu Ramananda Roy, and that's why he performed these things in Ante Leela when he is relishing in a mood of relishing. Continuing Srila Prabhupada's purport. By worshipping Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu alone. So again, we discussed this in our previous discussion, but the same principle of not approaching Radha Krishna through Geet Govinda and Govinda Lila Amrita and Dalit and Vidagdha Madhava right away, but by worshipping Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu alone, one can relish the loving affair of Radha and Krishna together. By by worshipping Radha Krishna, if one is agitated, one should not read. But if one is filled with ecstasy, that's a good sign. So whether we are agitated or we are feeling ecstasy, especially if we think about Radha and Krishna and we think about some woman relationship or some man relationship in our life, then we are kind of comparing Radha Krishna Leela with um, Leelas, I would not want to say Leela, uh, activities of the material world. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu worship is very safe because just the ecstasy that one feels by hearing Radha Krishna pastimes on an advanced stage, same ecstasy one feels, um, same ecstasy one feels um, by hearing about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One should therefore try to understand Radha Krishna not directly, but to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. See, the purpose is ecstasies, purpose is divinity of our heart. Those ecstasies purify our heart. Um, um, Same ecstasy, if we can get to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's very safe. So that is the way to approach Radha Krishna. Sri Narottam Das Thakur, therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and through his devotees. And what is the devotees referred to? Which kind of devotees? Sri Narottam Das Thakur therefore says, Rupa Raghunatha Pade Haibeya Puti Kabe Hame Bhuja Bose Yugala Piriti Piditi. When shall I develop a mentality of service to all? Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, and the other devotees of Lord Chaitanya, and thus become eligible to understand the pastimes of Sri Radha and Krishna. Prabhupada, in one of the purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says, if one wants uh, Vrindavan Leela, then one has to go to Srila Rupa Goswami, like that. The notes kept by Sri Sarup Damodar and Murari Gupta are the basis of this book. Following those notes, I write all the pastimes of the Lord. The notes have been described elaborately by Vrindavan Das Thakur. And then again he says, Vrindavan Das Thakur is the most expert in relishing the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, and he has relished it completely, and we are relishing it by his mercy. But whichever few places he left those pastimes, I'll try to fill the gap. And I don't have any ecstasies, but whatever I'm writing is basically the remnants left over by Vrindavan Das Thakur. Again, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami goes in that mood of Vaishnav etiquette and humility. Now, coming to the last section of today's discussion. First, we'll see the appearance of devotees of Lord Chaitanya and then appearance of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Krishna therefore first allowed his family of superiors to descend to earth. I shall try to describe them in brief because it is not possible to describe them fully. Sri Upendra Mishra, Parjanya Gopal. Parjanya was grandfather of Krishna. Um, Upendra Mishra was grandfather of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Upendra Mishra was a resident of Sri Hatta. Sri Hatta is in eastern Bengal, little far from which is called Mayapur, Navadip, Mayapur today. He was a Vaishnav, he was a scholar, Pandit, he was a rich man, Dhani, and he was the reservoir of all good qualities, Sadguna Pradhan. He had 7 saintly sons. His fifth son was Jagannath Mishra, and an ocean of good, who was an ocean of good quality. He decided to live on the bank of Ganges. So in Sri Hatta, um, Vrindavan Das Thakur is also from there. So in Sri Hatta, this rich Vaishnav, all good qualities, Upendra Mishra, who was Parjanya um, in Krishna Lila, who is Parjanya in Krishna Lila. He had 7 sons, 7 brothers. The fifth son was Jagannath Mishra. Jagannath Mishra is described as Nanda Baba, combined form of Nanda Baba and Vasudeva. He wanted to live near Ganges. There is no Ganges in um, Srihatta. So he moved to uh, um, Mayapur. Uh, Sachi Devi, chaste and devoted wife of Jagannath Mishra. Uh, Yashoda Rani, uh, daughter of Nilambar Chakravarti. If you see, Nilambar Chakravarti is Gargamuni, just like uh, Gargamuni did the astrological calculation of Krishna. Likewise, Nilambar Chakravarti did it for Lord Chaitanya, and we'll see that. So, daughter of Nilambar Chakravarti, Sachi Devi. Another is a relationship between Kazi. Those who remember the story of Kazi and Lord Chaitanya. First public Sankirtan, and Kazi broke the mridangas in the house of Srivas Thakur, and Mahaprabhu um, made first public Sankirtan where he went out, and he went with millions of devotees to the house of Kazi. We will see this in great detail, and it will come in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Full conversation how Mahaprabhu converted Muslim Kazi into Vaishnav with proper arguments from Islam. So very beautiful detailed description comes here. But Kazi took a humble position in front of Lord Chaitanya and he said, uh, um, um, "You are like my nephew," because Kazi uh, and Nilambar Chakravarti, They were kind of neighbors in Srihatta. And Kazi would call Nilambar Chakravarti like his uncle. So Kazi is like not by a blood relationship, but by the form relationship. He was like the brother of Sachi Devi, and that's why he became kind of an uncle of Lord Chaitanya. And that's how Kazi took a humble position when he said, when he saw the divinity and millions of followers coming, and they were very angry. Kazi came to his senses and he said, "Be careful here." So we saw something about Upendra Mishra. First, he came grandfather, then Nanda Baba came as the son of Upendra Mishra in the form of Jagannath Mishra. Jagannath Mishra moved to Mayapur near Ganges because there's a prediction in scriptures that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will take birth on the bank of Ganges. Um, Jagannath Mishra got married to the daughter of Nilambar Chakravarti. Um, her name was Sachi Mata, chaste and faithful and pure. Um, and then Radha Desh. These are all the devotees that appeared before Lord Chaitanya. Radha Desha Janmila, Thakur Nityananda, Ganga Das Pandit Gupta, Murari Mukunda, Radha Desh, the part of Bengal where the Ganges is not visible. Um, Nityananda Prabhu, Ganga Das Pandit, Murari Gupta, Mukunda, they all took birth. And Srila Prabhupada describes about Prabhupada goes in the mood of Nityananda Prabhu and he describes the part of Radha Desh when Nityananda Prabhu appeared is Eka Chakra, and Prabhupada describes all different pastime places in Eka Chakra. The deities that Nityananda Prabhu personally found in the Yamuna. Yamuna flows there. So this is called Gupta Vrindavan, Eka Chakra. That Banka Rai deity is there. Um, Hadai Pandit wanted to go to Puri to worship Jagannath. So Nityananda Prabhu manifested Jagannath deities that was personally worshipped by Hadai Pandit. Those deities are there. Hadai Pandit also used to worship self-manifested Shiva Linga, and that temple of Lord Shiva is there. Then Hadai Pandit wanted to go to all holy places and take bath. So Nityananda Prabhu, just like Krishna, invited all holy places. That Kund is there, and where Nityananda Prabhu will use to perform dramas. That pastime place is there. So Srila Prabhupada goes in the mood of Nityananda Prabhu and describe all the pastime places in this Adi Leela 1361 about Nityananda Prabhu. So Sachi Mata came, Jagannath Mishra came, Upendra Mishra came, Nilambar Chakrabarti came, who is Gargamuni, as father of Sachi Mata. Nitai came, uh, Murari Gupta, Mukunda, and we discuss about them as we go. Just the names are mentioned as of now. So don't worry if you have not heard the names. We will discuss about all the associates of the Lord as and when they come in God Leela. Asankhya Bhaktera Karaila Avatar, he made descent. Asankhya Bhaktera, unlimited associates of the Lord descended. Uh, he made them descend. Sheshe Avatina Haila, Brajendra Kumar. Before Krishna, Brajendra Kumar personally appeared. He made countless devotees to take avatar, to incarnate. Now, the last topic of today, which is the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. And we go a little faster now because now not much discussion, but just try to go into the mood of the appearance of Mahaprabhu. प्रभुरा आविर्भाव पूर्वे यथा वैष्णवगण अद्वैत आचार्य स्थाने करे न गमन. Before the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the devotees of Navadip used to gather in the house of Advaita Acharya. So Advaita Acharya was, he would um, he would hold Kirtan Katha, and he was a topmost Vaishnava. He was very old. He is almost 50 years older to Lord Chaitanya. Even when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disappeared, Advaita Acharya was still there. And Mahaprabhu lived for a very, very short time. All the devotees who appeared before Lord Chaitanya, most of them were there till Lord Chaitanya, because Mahaprabhu's pastime can happen only in association of devotees. Once Mahaprabhu left, slowly, slowly, one by one, everybody disappeared. Um, Within a very short time. Sarup Damodar, Ramananda, Gadadhar Pandit, Advaita Acharya, Shivas Thakur, they all were there. Only Haridas left because he requested, I cannot see your disappear. So please let me disappear. So Mahaprabhu personally performed Samadhi of Haridas on the bank of the ocean. But rest all were there. So before he appeared, devotees would go to Advaita Acharya's home, and they were all uh, devotees. गीता भागवता कहे आचार्य गोसाई ज्ञान कर्मा निंदी करे bhaktira badai. So he would propagate bhakti and he would condemn jnana karma nindi kare, and he would speak on Gita and Bhagavat. So these are something that were existing before Mahaprabhu, this culture of Shravanam Kirtanam. Sarva Shastra kahe Krishna Bhaktira Vyakhya ज्ञान योगा तपो धर्मा नाही माने आना. सर्वशास्त्र सर्व सर्वशास्त्रे कहे Krishna Bhakti Vyakhana. All the scriptures glorify the devotional service to Krishna. And that's what Advaita Acharya would teach even before Mahaprabhu appeared. That's why we discussed in Advaita Acharya Bhakti Samshanat. Acharya Bhakti Advaitam Hari Advaitam Acharya Bhakti Samshanat. He would teach bhakti. Jnana, yoga, tapa, dharma, nahi mane aan. Nothing compared to Krishna bhakti. They have no value. Jnana, karma, and austerities, and dharma and other things. Prabhupada says our Krishna consciousness movement follows this principle. We do not recognize any method of spiritual realization other than devotional service. Sometimes we are criticized by groups of following by the groups who are following Jnana, Yoga, Tapa, and Dharma. But fortunately, we are unable to make any compromises with them. So this is the principle we are following. Devotion service to Krishna. Tandra Sange Ananda Kare Vaishnavera Gana Krishna Katha Krishna Puja Nama Nama Sankirtana. Tandra Sange Ananda Kare. They would derive great bliss in association of devotees in the house of Advaita Acharya. They would do Krishna Katha. They would speak about Krishna, Krishna Puja. They would worship the deities and Nama Sankirtan. And they would chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Srila Prabhupada says, on these principles only does the Krishna consciousness movement go on. We have no other business other than Krishna Katha, talk of Krishna, Krishna Puja, worship of Krishna, and Nama Sankirtan, chanting the Hare Krishna. That's all we do. Um, talk about Krishna. Talk about Krishna include Shravana, hearing and speaking. Talk about Krishna, do Nam Japa alone and in association of devotees, and worship the deities. That's our basis of Krishna consciousness movement. किंतु सर्वलोका देखी कृष्णेरा बाहिर्मुखा विषय निमग्न लोका देखी पाया दुखा. Advaita Acharya became very sad. Sarva Loka Dekhi. Krishnera Bahimukha, when he saw that everyone is trying to engage in sense gratification without Krishna. Vishay Nimagna Loka. Drowning in sense gratification. Dekhi Paya Dukha. He became very sad. Uh, Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, there is no scarcity of anything within this world. The only scarcity is of Krishna consciousness. Uh, when sometimes devotees approach you, what do you need? Prayers, Prabhu. Have you have everything? There is nothing that is less in life. Only Krishna Bhakti की कमी है. बाकी भगवान ने सब कुछ दिया है प्रभु. So That is the only scarcity in this world, is Krishna consciousness. That is the vision of all pure devotees. Because of this lack of Krishna consciousness in human society, people are suffering terribly, being merged in the ocean of niceness and sense gratification. We all have experienced all different sorts of sense gratification. Our experience was simply miserable. And that's a fact. That's my experience also. But we don't experience that time. We experience when we experience bhakti, then we experience, oh, I was suffering before. So Advaitacharya, Dekhi Paya Dukha. He became not very happy seeing people are not worshipping Krishna. Lokera Nishtar Hetu Karena Chintana. Seeing the condition of this world, he started to think. Karena Chintana. Kemate e Saba Lokera Hai Betarana. How will they be delivered from the clutches of Maya? Now we are preparing for the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is soon going to appear. Krishna avatari karena bhaktira vistar tabita sakala lokera haibe nishta. Shiladvait Acharya Prabhu thought, if Krishna himself appears in order to distribute the cult of devotional service, then only will liberation be possible for all people. Advaita Acharya is preaching, is worshipping deities, speaking from Gita and Bhagavad, doing Nam Sankirtan, same mantra in association of devotees, glorifying devotional service of Krishna. But when he saw the whole world, he says, I cannot do it. So until Krishna himself appears, similar mode, Bhakti Vinod, Thakur Bhakti Vinod, I cannot do it. Send me a ray of yours who can deliver this whole world. I cannot do it. So if Krishna himself appears in order to distribute the cult of the culture of devotional service, then only will it be possible to liberate people. We cannot do anything. Uh, the feeling that I can do something is uh, there's some pride in that. Basically, Prabhupada said, "Finish your business in this world and go back to Godhead." Krishna avatarite acharya pratigya kariya. He he took a pratigya. I will make Krishna descend. Krishna puja kare tulasi Ganga jal diya, and he started worshipping Krishna in the form of Shaligram Shila with Ganga and water. Prabhupada says tulsi leaf and Ganga water, if possible, a little pulp of sandalwood is sufficient paraphernalia to worship the Supreme Personality of God. So those who do not have deities or those who have deities, even if they are not able to worship the deities every day, it is recommended to at least offer tulsi and Ganga water uh, every day. And if there is sandalwood, you can offer tulsi, Ganga water, and sandalwood. Ganga water, the quality of Ganga water, you take a drop of Ganga, in a drop of Ganga water, if you mix 100,000 gallons of water, that 100,000 gallons of water become Ganga water. In other words, if you have one bottle of Ganga water, you keep filling that bottle of Ganga water, it remains Ganga water because some water always remains. Even if there is a speck of water after emptying the Ganga water in the bottle, you fill it, it's again Ganga water. Once it's empty, you keep filling and it will be Ganga water all the time. That's the quality of Ganga water. So Ganga water, telling to myself, Tulsi and little sandalwood. Tulsi, be careful, don't take the leaves because especially in winter, if she doesn't give new leaves, she may not survive if you start taking one by one all the leaves. India, time, place, circumstance. Either take dry leaf from temple or some devotees who have lot of tulsi plants can try those things or see time, place, circumstances. Krishnera आवाना करे सघन हुंकार हुंकारे आकृष्टा हाइला Brajendra Kumar. Hunkar means loud crying. Not like Krishna, please come. The word is suffering. But with intensity, he was loudly crying. By loud cries, he invited Krishna to appear. and this repeated invitation attracted Lord Krishna to descend. Jagannatha Mishra Patni Sachira Udare Ashta Kanya Krame Haila Janmi Janmi Mare. Birth after birth, Ashta Kanya, 8 daughters took birth from Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra, Janmi Janmi Mare, and one after one they all died. They took birth um, just just after their birth they all died. So okay, who are these 8 daughters? We don't know. One time I asked this question to one devotee, Madhvananda Prabhu, very senior disciple of Gaur Govind Maharaj, and he said there is no reference in Chaitanya Charitamrita by any acharyas, by any Goswamis. One disciple of Saraswati Thakur, he writes in one of his book in the commentary that these are Astasakhis, 8 Sakhis, Lalita, Vishakha, Chitra, Rangdevi, Sudevi and others, Champaklata and others, Astasakhis. Um, so one devotee asked Gaur Govind Maharaj, are these Astasakhis? Gaur Govind Maharaj said, where is it written? Is it mentioned Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat? No, it's not mentioned anywhere. Then he said, we don't know. So maybe, maybe not. That's something what I heard, but we are not claiming. But who really are they? We don't know. Apatyavi rahe mishrera dukhi haila dukhi haila mana putra lagi aradhila Vishnu Charana. So they worship Lord Vishnu and they wanted a son. They were very unhappy after the death of the 8 daughters one after another. Similar suffering Devaki Mata went through. Tabe putra janma ila Vishwarupa naam. A son was born, Vishwarupa. Mahaguna teha Baladeva dham. He is Baldev, the elder brother. He appeared as Vishwarupa. When arrangements were being made for the marriage of Vishwarupa, he took sannyas and he left home. Um, in the Gaura Chandrodaya, it is said that Vishwarupa, after his so-called demise because he is Balaram, after his disappearance, remained mixed with Shri Nityananda Prabhu. So Balaramji appeared as Nitai and also as Vishwarup simultaneously. And when Vishwarup ended his pastime, he entered into Nitai. Putrapana Dampati Haila Anandita Mana. When they got the son, Vishwarup, they became very happy. Vishesha Seva na kare Govinda Charana, and they start worshipping specifically Govinda, Krishna. They the Vishnu deity Jagannath Mishra used to worship is still being worshipped at the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya. Still being that same deity 500 years back is being worshipped. So they started worshipping the lotus feet of Govinda. Now we are getting close. Chauda Satta Chaya Sake Shesha Magha Mase Jagannath Sachira Dehe Krishnera Praveshe. In the month of January in the year 1406 of Saka era 1485, Lord Krishna entered the bodies of Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his birth in the year 1486. He entered in the Magh month or January 1485 um, is the is the date mentioned when Mahaprabhu entered. Um, how he entered, we will come to it. Mahaprabhu entered, and he appeared physically in 1486 in the month of Falgun, March. So around 13 months. But here we see that he entered the bodies of his parent in 1406. So there is this Bengali year separate from this the um, Bengali year is 1406. They have some difference. Why? How detailed? I'm not sure. 1406 of Saka era is our time, Indian English calendar, 1485. Therefore, the Lord entered the bodies of his parents 13 full months before his birth. मिश्रा कहे सची स्थाने देखिया नारिता ज्योतिमया देहा गेहा Lakshmi Adi Sita. Jagannath Mishra said to Sachi Mata, I see wonderful things. Your body is effulgent, and it appears as if the goddess of fortune were now staying personally in my home. Very important. Um, Sachi Mata body became effulgent. Exact same description Shrimad Bhagavatam. When Krishna entered, she became effulgent, and Kamsa thought, now she is carrying my enemy. I have to be very careful. यहाँ तहाँ सर्वा लोका करे सम्मान घरे पाथाइया दिया धन वस्त्र दान anywhere and everywhere I go, all people offer me respect. So they are wondering, कि हो क्या रहा है? You have become so effulgent, like Lakshmi Devi has entered you. Wherever I go, people are respecting me. I mean, he is a Brahmana. They were respecting him before also, but now something changed. Even without my asking, they voluntarily give me riches, clothing, and paddy. Paddy is all everything that is grown, food to eat. A Brahmana does not become anyone's servant. To render service to someone else is the business of the Shudras. A Brahmana is always independent because he is teacher, spiritual master, advisor of society. The members of society provide him with all the necessities of life. If a Brahmana or a Vaishnava stick to his principle as an eternal servant of the Lord and executes the will of the Lord, there is no question of scarcity for his personal maintenance or the needs of his family. This principle is missing today. So, in that age, Brahmanas would not work. They would look into um, spiritual upliftment of society, like sannyasis in today's age. Um, mhm. And if they stick to their principles, then the society would maintain them. But because people are the Brahmanas, they are engaging more and more in sense gratification. Their purpose has become earning money, and other purposes. They are not being maintained by the society. If they simply remain pure, the Lord will maintain them. But when they take things in control and they misproperly use the necessities, um, then they are condemned. That's why people in India today, so many temples, Brahmana couples with kids, they are simply forcing people to give them money. I don't like that culture myself. I mean, Prabhupada said that is why the society has lost faith on spiritual people because of, and their goal is money, and they sit in the temple, and the purpose is gaining money. The purpose is not their own deepness in their own sadhana. So that principle is missing. But Jagannath Mishra was a very pure Brahmana. So after Mahaprabhu entered the body of Sachi Mata, he would get riches, paddy, and everything with clothing just by itself in abundance. सची कहे मुनि देखो आकाश ऊपर है सची माता बोले ऊपर देखो आकाश ऊपर है दिव्या मूर्ति लोका सभा ये न स्तुति करे Sachi Mata told her husband, I see wonderful, brilliant human beings appearing in outer space, as if offering prayers. See, all the demigods have come. Something similar. Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 2nd chapter. Prayers by demigod, 2nd canto, 10th canto, 2nd chapter. Prayers by demigod in the womb of to the womb of Sachimata. So um, they all would appear. जगन्नाथ मिश्रा कहे स्वप्न ये देखिला ज्योतिमय धामा मोरा हृदय पसीला. Jagannath Mishra then replied, in a dream I saw the effulgence abode of the Lord enter my heart. I will read the English now. From my heart it entered your heart. So the Lord entered into the heart of Jagannath Mishra, and from his heart he entered into the heart of um, Sachi Mata. I therefore understood that a great personality will soon take birth. After this conversation, both husband and wife were very jubilant, and therefore they rendered service to the household Shaligram Shila. Prabhupada says, especially in every Brahmana's house, there must be Shaligram Shila to be worshipped by a Brahmana family. This system is still correct. People who are Brahmanas by caste, who are born in Brahmana family, must worship Shaligram Shila. So when they were saying, "See up, there are heavenly planets," and they were very happy, and um, 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 there was no physical connection, just like even in case of Vasudeva and Devaki. Um, um, eh, they understood a great personality is going to take birth, and they started rendering service to Shaligram Shila. In this age, the worship of Shaligram Shila is proper. In this age, the worship of Shaligram Shila is not as important as the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. That is the injunction of the Shastra. If you want to see Shaligram Shila, we have it in our temple, in the kitchen. Next to Jagannath, we have a black stone. That is actually Shaligram Shila. That is Sakshat Narayan. Hare Nam. In this age of Kali, more important is chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra than worshipping Shaligram Shila. It is to be understood that Sachi Devi did not become pregnant as an ordinary woman. Um, mm, okay. In this way, the pregnancy approached its 13th month, but still there was no sign of delivery for the child. The Jagannath Mishra became greatly apprehensive. Nilambar Chakravarti, he is an astrologer. Now, 500 years back, you cannot take an appointment to the doctor after 9 months and do a C-section and then let the child be born. If the child comes out, otherwise you wait. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, Jagannath Mishra was very much concerned. And the Vedic culture is, if something is not happening, then they look into the astrological charts. Why this is happening? What can we do about it? Now, material civilization wants to take control over things. So they don't want to let things go naturally. So Prabhupada says hellish society. Society is becoming more in that direction. So Nilambar Chakravarti, the father of Sachi Mata, he did an astrological calculation ki why the child is not coming out, and said that in that very month, taking advantage of an auspicious moment, the child would take birth. He said, "इसी महीने में बच्चा बाहर आ जाएगा." Through astrological calculation, he is waiting for the auspicious astrological arrangement. Thus, in the year 1486, in the month of Falgun, February, March, in the evening of the full moon day, the desired auspicious moment arrived. It was a Purnima, that's why we say God Purnima. According to Jyoti Veda or astrology or Vedic astrology, the auspicious birth moment is described as follows. The moon was in Leo. Uh, um, Leo was the ascendant. Several planets were strongly positioned, and the Sadvarga and Ashtavarga showed all auspicious influences. We may not understand this, but Srila Prabhupada said, my spiritual master Saraswati Thakur was a great astrologer. So he explained this in detail because he knew everything about astrology. But most auspicious moment arrived. Um, um, Akalanka Gaura Chandra Dila Darshana Sakalanka Chandre Ar Ko Prayojana Akalanka. Akalanka means without a spot. Gaura Chandra Dila Darshana. And now Mahaprabhu gave darshan. Mahaprabhu appeared. Um, Sakalanka, filled with spots. Chandre Aram, Ko Prayojana. What is the use of the full moon when which is full of spots when Gaurachandra is appeared who has no spots. So that happened to be a eclipse. Eta Jani, so very poetically defined by Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami. Eta Jani Rahu Kaila Chandrera Grahana lunar eclipse. Grahana Chandrera Grahana. Krishna Krishna Hari Name Base Tribhuvana. Considering this, Rahu, the black planet, covered the full moon, and immediately vibration of Krishna Krishna Hari inundated the three worlds. All strict followers of Vedic religion stand up in the water throughout the whole period of the eclipse and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. At the time of the birth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, such a lunar eclipse take place, and naturally all the people standing in the water were chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So it was an eclipse. Eclipse is considered inauspicious. So everybody would go to the river and they were chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Everywhere there was Hari Hari, the name of Hari being chanted to invoke auspiciousness, to kill inauspiciousness. Um, and right in the middle of that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took birth, signifying the purpose of his incarnation. All people thus chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra during the lunar eclipse, and their minds were struck with wonder because when they were chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, they were feeling deep ecstasies because the Lord is appearing. It was all auspicious. So they were like, what is going on? What is happening? They were struck with wonder. Nobody knows the Supreme Personality of God is descending. It's just divine moments. When the whole world was thus chanting the holy names of the Supreme Lord, Krishna in the form of Gaurahari advented himself on the earth. Right then he appeared. The whole world was pleased. Everybody was happy. Nobody knows why. While the Hindus chanted the holy name of the Lord, the non-Hindus, especially Muslims, jokingly imitated the words. Muslims don't chant the name of Hari, but when somebody is chanting Hari Hari Hari, Muslims like kya Hari Hari Hari. So they are like in a joking way, but the description is even the Muslims were chanting the names of Hari. All the Muslims were inspired to mock because so much material conditioning, they don't want to chant the Hari. Intellectually condemned Yavanas, but they also started chanting the names of Hari. Nobody was bereft from chanting names of Hari, and everybody was stuck in wonder. While all the ladies vibrated the holy name of Hari on earth, in heavenly planets, dancing and music were going on, for the demigods were very curious. What's going on? The whole world is chanting, and the Apsaras they started dancing there. Everybody was in a mood of dancing. In this atmosphere, all the 10 directions became jubilant. 10 direction, um, 8 direction, top and bottom. So 10 directions. All the 10 directions became jubilant, as did the waves of the river. Moreover, the beings moving and non-moving were overwhelmed with transcendental bliss. The plants, lions, tigers, deers, everybody was feeling that divine bliss in their heart because the Supreme Lord is ascending in this material world. At that time, Advaitacharya Prabhu in his own house at Shantipur. Advaitacharya is not in Mayapur. He is in Shantipur, which is around 1.5 hours drive. So quite decently far. He was in his own home, um, in his house at Shantipur. He was dancing in a pleasing mood. He started dancing, taking Haridas with him. Haridas' home uh, is very near to Advaitacharya's home in near Shantipur, just 5 minutes drive. So they were close associates. When Advaitacharya would hold Katha on Gita Bhagavat, Haridas would come and listen. So they were like very, very close friends. And Advaitacharya got hold the hand of Haridas Thakur and they started chanting Maha Mantra and they started dancing. And they had a big smile on their face and they don't know what's going on. Um, but why they were dancing, nobody could understand. um, Sita Devi, the wife of Advaitacharya and all the neighbors, they were thinking कि क्या हो गया आप लोगों को अचानक से. um, um, all sort of respectable Brahmana gentlemen and ladies carrying plates filled with various gifts came with their presentation. When Gaurahari appeared, all the ladies, Brahmanas, gentlemen, they all started coming to the house of Sachi Mata and they brought a lot of gifts and presentations. Seeing the newborn child, whose form resembled, it is said, Yena Yena Kancha Sona Duty, Sona like a gold, like the child is very unique. The child is gold. His effulgence is like emanating from his body, natural glaring gold. All of them happily offered their blessing. They all were very, very pleased just to see the child. And since everybody was chanting Hari, they were also chanting the names of Hari. Dressing themselves as the wife of Brahmanas, all the celestial ladies, including, if you see Savitri, Gauri, Saraswati, Sachi, Rambha, Arandhati, uh, Deva Narigana, all the ladies of heavenly planets. The wife of Brahma, Savitri, Shiva, Gauri, the wife of Narsimha, Saraswati, Indra, wife of Indra is also Sachi. Sachi, Vashishta Rishi, Rambha, a dancing girl of heaven, they all came there with their gifts. Now, ordinary people saw them as respectable Brahmana ladies of the neighborhood, but actually they were all celestial ladies dressed in that way. Thousands of people were coming to the house of Sachi Mata. They were building because they would come and offer prayers. Now they are coming, and everybody thought we don't know them because they are neighborhood Brahmanas and their wives. Birth ceremony, Jata Karma, once a child is born, this birth ceremony was performed by Chandrasekhar Acharya and Shivas Thakur. More about these personalities later on. They came to Jagannath Mishra and performed birth rituals. Jagannath Mishra gave charity to Brahmanas, singers, dancers. He was getting so many presentation. Everybody who was coming, he was giving even more than what they were giving. So Jagannath Mishra was in supremely blissful mode, as do Sachi Mata. Other ladies, the wife of Shivas, Malini, the wife of Chandrasekhar, and other ladies came with various paraphernalia. Everybody is coming to the home of Sachi. They he is just emanating like gold, like a natural gold, and he is very pleasing to look at. And there is such divine spiritual energy. Everybody who is coming, as they were approaching near the home of Sachi Mata, they were feeling some divine inner joy, and they were astounded and they were surprised and uh, astonished, and they were like, "What's going on?" And just the look of Nimai would fill their heart with transcendental joy. I think 4 5 slides before. Advaita's wife Sita Devi came in the palanquin. Sita Devi came from Shantipur. In a palanquin, she brought gold, silver, clothes, ornaments, eatables. She was astonished to see the newborn child. Gold? Gold color? And she could understand. It is described Krishna with a different complexion. She got a thought. Has Supreme Lord appeared in a different complexion? Just a thought. She doesn't know. Advaita Acharya doesn't know. Advaita Acharya even questioned. Later on, we will see Murari Gupta and other, they tell Advaita Acharya, for how long will you live in this illusion that he is a simple boy? So the divinity was revealed at a later time, but everybody was feeling divine. They had this thought, but how can this child be the Supreme Lord? Lord's Leela. Being afraid of ghosts, she called him Nimai because he was born under a neem tree. The ghost and pisachas, they don't come near neem tree. So that the ghost does not come near him, Sachi Mata gave him the name Nimai. So likewise, he received the name Gaura Hari because Gaura will keep crying till he till they chant Hari 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 Hari. So your name is Gaura Hari. Your name is Nimai. Gaura Chandra. After calculating the birth moment of Lord Chaitanya, Nilambar Chakravarti privately said to Jagannath Mishra, Prabhupada said we can use astrology during the birth time and during the marriage ceremony. um, we may take advantage of this Vedic science of astrology. So Nilambar Chakravarti was the best astrologer, Garga Muni himself. So and he is the father of Sachi Mata. So Nilambar Chakravarti privately said to Jagannath Mishra that he saw all the different symptoms of great personality in both the body and the birth moment of the child. More in chapter 14, it is described. But he just saw all great symptoms. And thus he understood that in the future this child would deliver all the three words. Nimai. In this way, Lord Chaitanya, out of his causeless mercy, made his advent in the house of Sachi Devi. Lord Chaitanya is very merciful to anyone who hears this narration of his birth, and thus such a person attains the lotus feet of the Lord. That's why we describe this in great detail. The Falastuti of this chapter, anybody who hears it with attention, um, the narration of the appearance of the Lord, that person will attain the lotus feet of the Lord. See, our mood to hear about glories of the Lord is to glorify the Lord. Just like it's very personal. Just like if you tell about um, the qualities of your son or your daughter, then uh, you want to hear more. And likewise, the Lord is in our heart. When we express eagerness to hear about Him, how He appeared and how joyful and how everybody came to Sachimata, and then it gives pleasure to the Lord. And when we derive pleasure in hearing about the Lord, then we attain the lotus feet of the Lord. Shri Rupa Raghunatha Padayara As Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahe Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Shri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I Krishna Das narrate Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Okay, it was kind of little longer than usual. Um, all right.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have a general question like, do we have to observe a eclipse here as well, Prabhuji? I mean, like, do we have to follow anything?
Eclipse. Um, Not that I heard in any lecture or I read somewhere specifically. Uh, um, if I not an expert in this topic myself, some people say that we should not go out, but we see contradictory in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Everybody is on the gadgets and chanting Hari Hari Hari. So um, um, no comment at this point of time from my side. All right, that's what I can say. That's what my adhikar allows me to say.
Yes, Prabhuji. When I was small, like, I used to see, like, my grandmother, she used to do clean all the puja things and then she throws all the food stuff and they do take back. So that's why I was curious to know, like, what we have to follow after eclipse is over, like.
Um, well, um, I personally live the day like any other normal day. If there is something specific, if I hear, I let you know. That's what I can say.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
And okay, so we'll end here. Thank you very much. Vancha kalpatarubhescha kripa sindhu de evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय शिला प्रभुपाद की जय. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.